High ticket closer, you make less than $15,000 a month. You have zero excuse as to why you don't watch this video in full, especially if you clicked on it because you want to get better at high ticket sales. If you're new to the channel, my name's Tristan Steckler. I've been doing high ticket for 4 years now. I've closed millions and I help people just like you take your skill set from where you're at to where you actually want to be. Watch the video in full, take notes, pen and paper, and I promise you if you implement what I teach, you will make more money. Enjoy. Any context or things that we should be aware of?
Yes. So the surprise with this, why the guys were stoked that it went through, is this guy, every single sign of the skeptical analytical buyer, he sent a DM after he scheduled in his meeting to Brennan saying, "Do you know a Samuel Leland?" And then he proceeded to ask for a bio on me. Turns out the guy literally works in analytics for a tech company. So it was just like so perfect. But something shifted in our conversation. And at the end of the call, he literally said to me, one of the last things was, "I never make decisions like this." He goes, "My wife's actually probably going to be mad that I didn't even consult her." But he goes, "We were way too aligned. This is exactly what we need to do. And we need to do this for our future."
Dude, let's go.
Like, wow. So, and then he gave me a follow-up text being like, "Thank you so much. This was such a great call. I'm ready to dig in. Let's go all in here."
Come on, son.
Like, very good.
All right, let's watch this. I got my popcorn.
But it was even just season in general was a great time. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I didn't see too much of the Seattle series, but I heard that was just like a battle royale.
Blah.
It's just if we can have a super open.
It was all baseball. That's all it was.
In that spirit, for whatever reason, if I feel we can't help you, I am not interested in wasting your time nor mine, right? So I'll let you know and do my absolute best to point you in the right direction. But if I feel we can't.
I've said this in the past, Sam, you have this way about your calls where this is exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to do it right now. And I love it. It's great.
Thanks, man. I can help you. I'll break down exactly what that would look like, how our mentorship works, and we can kind of make plans to get started from there. Does that sound fair?
Yeah. No, that sounds.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to get like a part-time job as a disciplinarian, like I would hire you. Like high school.
That's awesome.
Cool. Love it. Very cool. So I'm always just curious with anybody that's hopping on a call with me, how long have you been following our account for? How long have you been following Brennan?
Honestly, I'd probably say probably over a year, maybe a little bit short of a year, but caught wind of him through the algorithm that follows me everywhere, and just have kind of found myself saving his posts and things like that. I mean, sometimes I feel like it's aligned with some of the things that we're doing. Other times it's a lot of new ideas. So I've definitely enjoyed a lot of the stuff that you've been sharing.
Awesome. Love it. I'm glad it's connecting and resonating with what's going on in your world. You've been following us for a while. Obviously, we've now just booked a meeting and to talk and say about getting some outside help. Like what do you feel? Was there something that shifted for you recently? Or is there anything that prompted this call just to see if you can get some help with?
It's been a year. What took you so long? I know that's a ballsy question. I know. That's why I'm telling you to ask it, because he's going to give you the objection. He may like fluff it up and pretend like it's not what we know it is, but the answer is fear. The quicker we get into that, the less time it takes to close them. Less time wasted. So please, next person who asks the golden question of how long you've been following us for, and you get a year, 2 years, the question I want to hear asked is, what took you so long? What took you so long?
With your situation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, we feel like we're on track and we're doing a good job, but there's so many things that we know we're not doing. And I think it's just, we have a financial advisor. I'm questioning whether or not I want to continue with that because we're paying a lot of money, to him. And I feel like we're in.
What's a lot of money?
I feel like I enjoy investing. I view it as like a hobby of mine. So I'm always kind of like following different things, trying to do different things with my own personal money. Like through companies, like transitioning companies, I've moved some of my like 401ks, rolled it over to an IRA that I kind of personally manage. And then, bulk of our investment, we could be saving or investing. So it's how can we, I feel like I'm kind of anal when it comes to budgeting and things like that. Like I have a good grasp on where we're
It's not just budgeting.
spending our money. I don't know that we've taken the next step of saying, okay, like here's our like firm lines, and let's stick to these budgets. We're both making pretty good money, and like it's not like life is
compared to who?
Challenging. Like we don't have any debt outside of our real estate debt, which is, and we're continuing to like pay that down.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like a mindset shift a little bit, but also like some helpful strategies that, you know, can help us take us to the next level. We don't want to work forever, right? I mean, like ideally, I'm 38. I'd love to be well on my way to retirement, if not there by 50. You know, I think like
12 years.
she's a couple years younger than me. So I think like we would like to retire around the same time.
How much do you need to retire?
So maybe she's like, you know, 47. Maybe we need to increase that a few years. But that's kind of where my head's at. You know, and I feel like from some of those videos I was watching on that like call confirmation landing page, it just feels like it's aligned with what, you know, what I'm looking for.
Beautiful.
How do you know? How do you know until you're inside the program? How can you know? Can't.
I really appreciate the breakdown. You mentioned a couple things that piqued my interest. Number one.
So here's an example. I wouldn't say I really appreciate the breakdown because he just word vomited for a total of like 3 minutes uninterrupted. So when you say I really appreciate that, you're rewarding it. You're like, keep doing it. That's great. I would take the approach of if I'm not like ground enough to cut him off and start asking those questions that I was asking while he's talking, then I'd say, well, you kind of said a lot there. It's a little hard to follow. I am curious about X.
Mm.
And then in his mind, he's like, oh, I did. And since he's a chronic overthinker, he'll discipline himself with self-hate. That's how that works.
One, you mentioned a mindset shift. Can you just like unpack that for me? What do you feel shifted in your perspective on just like where things are currently and where you'd like to see yourself?
I mean, truthfully, like I think
Did you at least see the questions that I was asking while he was talking?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
the root of it is like we don't want to feel like we both work really hard, and you know I understand that like hey, it's a daily grind. Like let's you know continue to do what we're doing, but at the end of the day, like we want more work-life balance. We want to not feel like you know flash forward 10 years and we missed all these great memories with our kids. Like we want to get to
Ooh. We don't want to continue to miss all these experiences with our kids.
a point where you know we're able to you know scale back like the hours that we're working right now, and even like long term, like when we're out of this you know little bit of a crazy phase with you know a 6-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. Like I've always had like an entrepreneurial mindset. Like how can I you know scale back you know working in the corporate world, like continue to grow our money, continue to protect our money, and then maybe even do some sort of you know business on the side, you know, where you know I'm able to kind of tap into some of my hobbies and you know pursue some different things that give me a little bit more freedom, you know, to feel like we can be more present in our kids' lives.
Absolutely. Time in the market, time with family, it's everything, right?
Yeah.
It's precious. We can work very, very hard. But it sounds like time with your loved ones, especially just I understand I have young kids as well, right? It's precious time. It's something we want to take advantage of. And you know, if we can put things in a way that allows you to make some shifts around that, have more time with family, and also at the same time increase the pace of our growth, right? Get us to retirement sooner. Sounds like that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
With because you're talking about the advisor, and by the way, like we're on the same page, right? We're not anti-advisor. We're not saying they're inherently evil or bad or whatever. I just 99% of the time we just don't think it's essential, given we have the right information, we have the knowledge, we know how to manage this, and we can make confident and convicted decisions, right? Because the way I see it, it's like they're never, even though they might make a nice penny off of the growth, they're never going to have a stronger vested interest in your success than you are for your own family, your own
Yeah.
finances and future, right? So with that, like you mentioned, hey, like not necessarily super happy with this. Maybe it's feeling like, hey, I feel like maybe we're kind of playing things a little safe over there, not seeing the growth we want. We also holding that in contrast with you mentioned, I feel like there's some things that like we're not doing or we haven't really tapped into. Like, give me a better picture on where you would like to see things in that respect shifting, whether it's you managing it or in general, just like how do we expand upon this and what would that look like for you?
Yeah, I think that so we probably up until like maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, somewhere like that, we stopped like maxing out our 401ks, and we kind of like you know we were doing that for a while, and I know we technically should be doing that.
Logic. So much logic.
But I think like
And he'll keep it logical the whole time. You'll never get in the emotion and he won't close from these questions so far, which I get. Like you got to gather some information from him. But where logic is more beneficial is like you want to retire by 50, you're 38, you got 12 years. How much do you need to have in retirement? Where you at? Where you at? And then he's saying missing out on time with my kids. Because of what? Why is he unable to spend that time with his kids? Is he working a lot of hours? What's preventing him from spending that time with them? But he wants to. He's talking about how he always has had this entrepreneurial mind. I'm like, prove it. Like, what have you done? This is always just talk for these guys, for the most part, especially this type of guy. Tons of research, gathering information, no implementation, no action, no risk, hedging his bets.
Our mindset went towards like, we want to be able to have money accessible before 62 or, what have
If
you.
you retire before then.
Yeah. And we're like, can we like send that money elsewhere, right? Like part of it like allowed us to buy a rental, right? Part of it allowed us to do like different things with the college, accounts for our kids, right? But I know that like there are things that we make like just transparently, like we probably almost are at 400K annually collectively, and like we've paid off a lot of debt. We basically have no debt outside of our real estate accounts. Like we never carry credit card debt or anything like that. But I think that there's opportunities for us to put more things on autopilot. So if we like got rid of the, we still get the max from the company, or the match from the company, max match from the company. But if we're not maxing out our 401ks, like, are there things that we can be doing that like kind of are out of sight, out of mind versus like, hey, like we have some extra funds here, let's do a lump sum. Like, and I know that like, so part of it's like getting some things on autopilot. Part of it is just tax strategies and like, how can we, what are we not thinking about, right? Like, and how can we lean on people that have expertise and follow a blueprint versus like in, between trying to care for our kids, and all of the challenges with toddler life, and then also, trying to succeed in our corporate jobs. Like, as much as we love doing some of the things that we're doing on the personal finance side, there are things that are just, falling by the wayside. So it's just like sharpening the tools, and knowing that like we can lean on like a trusted, proven system and just kind of like follow a blueprint that we know is going to get us where we want to be, and accelerate, our nest egg.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a good mindset, right? Specifically mentioning, hey, we want a proven system. It's at the end of the day, you seem like a really smart guy, right? If we put our mind to it, we can probably figure all this out on our own. The question is, how long is that going to take? How many left and right turns are we going to mistakenly make in this process, and how much is that going to cost us, right? I think wisdom says, how can I just get accurate data, apply that to my situation, and see results quick, right?
Yeah.
That's literally the definition of our focus here, right? That's our prerogative, is cutting learning curves, getting results in place quick, increasing your level of awareness, so that you can manage this, not just now, like what we want now, but where are we gonna be at 5-10 years from now? Obviously the kids will be older. Situations change 15-20 years from now. It's a completely different ballpark, right? Our strict policy is we are not here to feed you a fish. I'm not here to put a plan in your hands. I'm not here to say, just trust me, put this in place and don't ask questions. We are here to feed, we're here to teach you how to fish for yourself, so you can feed yourself, your family for the rest of your lives, but also so you can have that knowledge base yourself and confidently instill that in your children so they can operate off this information as well. That's going to put them leaps and bounds ahead of really anyone that they're competing with, so to speak, right? Like as they come up, and they'll be able to leverage that for their future as well.
That's a great point, and that is definitely something that is very top of mind for us. Like when we think about, there are a lot of things that I would say like our parents taught us, but there are a lot of things that we've learned, and molded over the years where like we saw some of the gaps, and we've made adjustments. And like if we can continue to fine tune things and pass all of that on, then I mean, in addition to some of the things that we're doing to plan for and set up our kids right now, but like, how can we like have them carry the same mindset so that they can be, successful and enjoy, the life that we're striving to build right now.
100%.
Chris Gowan.
With a guy like this, how do you transition to like the emotion when it's like all logic and you're trying to go to emotion? Like what's
there
like
were
a good
10 questions that we missed here that he just vomited on us that we didn't ask.
more time with kids and
Stacks
then
up over time. Yeah. He's already given us all the MO. We're just not talking about it. We're talking about logic the whole time. That's how that happens. Because what Sam said was, thank you. Thank you for giving me all that information. And I have a third person perspective, right? It's much easier to be in my shoes just watching it than it is in the call live. But what I'm trying to teach you is you have to cut them off. Otherwise, you miss it. You're missing the context. If you don't cut them off and you just like, dude, you're not AI. You're not a computer program. You can't just remember everything that they say. You can't write down notes and listen at the same time. You can't think and listen at the same time. You can only do one thing at a time. So when you get answers and you start getting momentum towards pain, pierce, ask questions, redirect the conversation to get the leverage that you need. Don't just sit like a duck. Otherwise, with the wrong personality, you will hear it. They will say, like I said earlier, blah. And when you hear that, immediately you're like defeated. You're like, crap, I'm not paying attention well enough. They did say that earlier. They don't trust me. So just be on top of it.
And these guys at minute 59, oh, I got a meeting, buddy. Goodbye.
Exactly. Yeah, you were in the way for an hour. You waste my time. I'll go find someone else who can actually get it done.
I'm glad we brought this up because I do the in my mind when those scenarios happen where they're like kind of like spilling out a bunch of stuff, which I think is valuable. I will try to sit there and like take key notes of them, hey, they said this, they said this, they said this. And I think I could do both of the time, listen to them and take the notes. But once you mention that, you can do both at the same time. You're not really active listening. And I'm just kind of going through the notes and like it still stays surface because I'm just reading off of the notes and what they said instead of interrupting them and tackling like the most important parts then. Because I feel like if I do interrupt them, I won't get the other information that might be good. But I think that's just me getting in the way of just tackling what they're already saying, and then everything else that will need to be said will already come about.
100%. Yeah, it's a learning process. But better to cut them off because you're disciplining a bad behavior than just vomiting to you.
Mhm.
And you're protecting yourself, right? So that you can get the information that you need to help them. But you're protecting yourself from them viewing it as though you're unprepared, you don't know enough about their situation to help them. So if anything, it builds trust. It's like, hold on, dude. Hold on. Got to make sure I can actually help you. That's what you would want your doctor to do, right? Like if you were rushed into the ER and they just immediately threw you on the operating table and started trying to cut you open, you'd be like, what's going on here? You don't even know why I'm here, right? So same thing here applies.
Let's talk about big picture, right? The big goals that you're wanting this to achieve. I understand how you're wanting to optimize this, and we're on the same page, which is a beautiful thing. Let's say we put a plan like this in place. Like, where are you wanting this to, aside from obviously like wanting to retire, ahead of pace and setting the kids up for their future? Paint a picture for me. Like, how are we wanting our money to empower us, make this process easier for ourselves moving forward? What are some of these big goals we'd like to achieve?
Future pace. Future pace with no what?
Context.
Context.
Context around what?
Current situation.
Current situation in what way?
Pain.
Pain in what way?
What's important to them?
No.
What's prevented you from?
Yes. What's prevented them from getting where they want to be?
It's your favorite question.
Dude, it's the best. Watch. Anyone who doesn't follow me on Instagram, strongly suggest that you follow me on Instagram.
I go to sleep
Because-
listening to him.
Because, as an example, this is a partner objection. I want you to hear the words that come out of her mouth and think to your own goals. Okay? Make sure this is unmuted. Closer got hit with a partner objection that he could not overcome at the end of his sales call. I'm going to show you exactly where it came up in the discovery and where he missed pre-handling it so it doesn't happen to you.
I do want to go over all this with my fiance. Like I said, I'm at work right now. He's obviously at work.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's at work. It'd be negligent for me to move forward without him. They're not even married. They're fiancés. Yeah, they're not married. They're not married. Great. Good point, Tristan. Crazy.
So, but I have like all the notes wrote down that you gave me.
Mhm.
And then do I just check back in with you?
We would set up another time for us to
Okay.
talk. So we'd set up a time and a date. Aside from just wanting to kind of go over it with your fiance, how do you feel about everything?
As long as I can make money to pay the two.
As long as I can make just enough to scrape by with the payments, because I don't believe in myself whatsoever, and it's up to you to get me to the outcome, not myself, then I'll think about doing it maybe sometime.
08 to you every month because I don't have $5,000.
Yeah. Well, you and me.
Realize, well, whose choices, whose decisions, whose commitments, whose beliefs have put us in a position where we don't have the money to invest in ourselves? Is it Donald Trump? Or you? As this, she does not believe in herself. Let me show you exactly where this came up in the discovery. It was not pre-handled. It was not addressed. It was not overcame. It was stepped over. And this is exactly why he's getting the objection at the end of the call.
And so, in your own personal opinion, what do you feel over the past year has like truly held you back from just fully committing to this, finding something? Because there's a lot of different ways you can make money on the internet and getting professional help with it, the way you got the professional help to lose weight. So, what do you think has sort of prevented you or held us back from committing and taking action?
So the way that we teach sales in the process is we get a tangible, concrete goal, like I want to make $10,000 in a month so that I can quit my job. We'll get a time frame, which it's been my goal for 3 years. So now we have leverage. And then we're going to ask the question, which is the golden question, which leads to all the limitations, all the fear, all the anxiety that's held them back, which is what's prevented you from getting to the outcome over the time frame? This is the answer right now.
Probably because I already have like $13,000 in credit card debt. So
Okay.
The reason I haven't taken the steps, Sam, is because I'm in debt already. It's not that I always run every single decision that I've ever made in my entire life by my fiance. That's actually what it is. It's not that I always pray about stuff before I move forward. It's not that it's too much money. It's this. But this never would have came out unless he asked the question. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of the call and they say, well, you know, I have $13,000 in debt. I can't do this. And then we're too late because the price is on the table and you're a sales guy now.
like I just haven't wanted to pay for somebody to help me. So I've just been trying to learn on my own.
There it is. You see it? That's how this works. You get it out here, you pre-handle it, no future pace, no consequence, no pitch, none of that until this is done with. Until this is done with, we don't move on. Otherwise, we'll get a bunch of avalanche of objections at the end of the call. What's preventing you from getting to the outcome over the time frame?
Is that textbook like before? What have you tried? I always mix that up.
It's a either or. It's a either or. What if
What do
you
you
tried is going to
prefer?
give you context? What's preventing you is going to give you the objection. If you
What
need
would
to
you do
go in and
first?
get more information, I would do what's preventing you from getting to the outcome. And if I need to go back in and figure out what they've actually tried and what's prevented them because they give me a surface level answer, then I will. But if you've done it right and you have the right leverage and the right goal, then they'll just tell you the actual objection in the moment. They'll say fear. Because that's what you just said. I'm already $13,000 in debt. I didn't want to pay anyone else because I wanted to figure it out on my own. Well, that's not true. That's not the whole story. The whole story is I desperately want to get out of debt. I'm in debt right now based on my decisions. I don't know how to get out of debt, but I don't trust myself enough and I don't trust the internet enough to take the step because what if I spend the money and it doesn't work and I'm in more debt now? That's the objection. It's nothing else. That's it. And the whole idea of like, well, it would be negligent for me to take the step is not true. Because if I found this lady on the side of the street and I said, hey, here's $10,000, just take it, those words would not come out of her mouth. She would not say, well, me and Johnny, we never make decisions without talking to each other first. I cannot take this money. She just take it. Right? So don't let them lie to you because they're lying to you. And I don't like it when people lie to me.
It can be short term, it can be long term as well.
I mean, I think that like long term, like I was messing around with that like financial calculator. I've kind of had like different versions of things like that in the past as well. Like the number that like we've kind of worked towards with like our financial advisor, like we've done similar type of math in this financial calculator to live like the lifestyle we want, and we like over exaggerated like future spending and stuff in retirement, and also like calculated things on like retirement, around 50, 55. Everything kind of points us to like a $4.5 million number, 4.6, something in that range, over 4. And I guess.
Okay, so you see how he's giving you the answers by going on tangents? Because I'll hear closers sometimes, and Sam, you do an incredible job, so don't take this the wrong way. But I'll hear closers from time to time. They're like, "Yeah, I got this out of him. Like, he needs 4.5 million to retire. Like, I got it out." And I'm like, "No, you did not. No, you didn't. He just told you." Glorified payment processor, not a closer. So always take that into consideration. You want to close them because you closed them. based on your line of questioning, based on your ability to overcome the person. Because if that's the case, then regardless of what happens in the market or the marketing or the leads, whatever you say, you're still in control. Because they're not always going to come on the call and been following Brendan for a year. Eventually, we'll run out of people like that. They don't just grow on trees.
I guess I'm just kind of thinking about like, how do we accelerate, to that goal, right? And I think part of me looks at like, okay, what do we have in investment accounts? And then the other part kind of factors in like, what do we have in real estate equity? Because that is like a big portion. And there are, maybe we don't have like formal set plans, but like, if we were to like move into a new house, like we would probably like rent this house out as well. And then we want to pay off these mortgages so that we truly have like, $1.5 million, if not more, of equity, right? In just real estate alone. And then, we're kind of looking at, I guess the right way to approach this, right? Do we look at our investment accounts only, which is like money that we have currently, or do we look at like unrealized equity as
we don't know what to do, Sam. We don't know what to do. Hey, I'm 300 pounds. I mean, should I do Weight Watchers? Should I do Nutrisystem? Should I hire a personal trainer? Should I do this? What'd you tell me to do? You would say, hey, big guy, pick a direction. Pick a direction. You can't pick a direction? Financially commit to the direction and take the step, because you have to.
we're talking about progression to that goal. So I'm just curious about like some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, I think the other piece is just kind of going back to some of the stuff that I referenced about like more time with kids and, being able to shift a little bit on the work side, being able to travel more, being able to, have our kids embrace different cultures, things like that.
So looking at, like, if the goal is 4.5 plus, looking at, because we have 12 years is our timeline, right? Basically, the latest for you to be able to achieve that goal by 50, right? Sooner if we want to get there by 45. But if we look at even at the high end of that scenario, we look at the last 12 years of growth. Obviously, things have changed in that process, and that obviously has impacts here. But do we feel like what we've seen in growth in the last 10, 12 years is putting us on pace to hit that currently? Or do we need to make some changes around that for it to be possible?
I mean, I think there's changes. There's always changes you can make. And I would say that's probably the driving force between, behind like wanting to explore this. But when I look,
Ego. Why is he allowed to have ego right now, Sam?
I'm not dismantling him more individually, challenging his confidence.
Yeah, I don't know what money we got right now stacked away. I don't know anything. No leverage.
I had a ton of notes on some of those specifics. I just hadn't got into the nitty gritty with it because I figured with a guy like this, if I got too much into logistics, that we would get buried there and it would just take a long time.
I hear you. That adds up to me. That makes sense.
I look at 10 years ago, we were actually kind of like doing this the other day when I would bring in my wife up to speed on some of the conversation. We always kind of have these little side conversations as well. But like looking back 10 years, right, we had just bought our first house, like had, minimal 401k savings, had minimal savings, to our name, still didn't have like a ton of debt. But like fast forward 10 years, like that's crazy. Like, I mean, if you factor in the unrealized like equity of real estate and our accounts, like, I mean, we're probably close to 1.5.
Okay.
So I mean, like going from almost nothing and like paying off like small debts to like that. I mean, real estate we've had very timely real estate decisions, but we've also like maxed out 401ks and we've also like had some really strong investments and just like a good mindset on that front and benefited from the compound growth, right? So I think that there is like still that mindset shift of like, hey, we've also grown our income significantly over that time. And like daycare is not cheap, right? It's almost like a second mortgage right now.
Yeah.
But how do we like continue to say, okay, like let's get some.
What did you say?
Daycare is expensive. Feels like a second mortgage.
Daycare.
He's not home, can't be with the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched a video last night. I said this on one of the other group calls, but I watched a video last night talking about how there's mass amounts of suicide in young kids because of the cell phone, because the cell phone is raising the kids, because the kids are going on ChatGPT and talking to the chatbot like it's God or like it's their parents, and they're asking it questions and they're talking about how they're struggling with depression because they're on their phones all day every day because mom and dad are not present. And then we go down a rabbit hole about how they're feeling depressed and they're feeling anxious and they're feeling suicidal, and the chatbot is encouraging them to kill themselves. And so mom and dad are upstairs dicking off like they always do. completely and totally absent from their kids' lives, and pop. What was that sound? Rushing down the stairs, open up the kid's door, heads blown off, blood everywhere, gone. Then you look at the chat messages and you realize that the chat bot is affirming, validating, and approving on the kid killing themselves. 4 or 5 hours of dialogue, saying things like, come and meet me on the other side. Gone. Never coming back. Whose fault is that? Why are your kids being raised by a robot or YouTube or celebrities or the TV? Not telling you the whole story. Talking about how he's looking at daycare like it's a problem. Like they're charging him too much. What if you're the problem, big guy? What if you're the problem? I talked about this before. The biggest regret for these goons who work like 80 hours a week, goons, is they say the reason they're working so many hours is for their family. But 30 years into it, the kids are grown up, they're gone. They were raised by someone else. The kids don't even know you, dude. You weren't doing it for your family. You were doing it for you. Because you're selfish and prideful. That's who you're doing it for. My family is the nice little thing I put in front of my own selfish ambition. My family. So when he says daycare is too expensive, I'm like, whose fault is it that the kids have to be in daycare because dad works 60 hours a week and neglects his family? Do you even know your kids, dude? Your kids? Your kids that you brought into the world. You. That doesn't just happen. You did it. Who's going to hold him accountable? Who's going to challenge him? Who's going to reframe him? His wife isn't. His kids aren't. No one else around him will either. Because for this type of guy, the second anyone has anything to say that's not going down the path he's going down, he says, get out of here. Got to protect my little bubble. Only surround myself with yes men or people who talk about nothing. The more you know.
Some money that we're making out of sight, out of mind, and learn to like adapt to this new income versus like having more money, than, and feeling like, oh, we can just spend here, spend there. And we're not like crazy with spending, but I know there's things that we can tighten up.
Tighten up there and then just use that to excel growth, right? Okay. So up until this point, like what have you currently been doing until like our conversation today to put some solutions around this? Or is there some other things you've been trying in the past to gain an edge here and just see greater optimized growth in this process?
So I would say it's been busy the last, couple of years, right? So this is,
you guys been popping out some kids, man. Like,
yeah, it's definitely kind of like not falling by the wayside. Like budgeting is still like a monthly thing that we do, and we still like invest money. But there was, when we moved about 3 years ago, we had taken some of the equity from our last house and rolled that over, put almost like 30% down on our new house. And then we had kept some money set aside for the rental. So we knew that like our big like investment in like the last 3 years was going to be a rental property. And then so like separate of that, like we scaled back on some of the 401 contributions. Like we have been giving more money to like our financial advisor. I've been like doing some things here and there. But that's, I think it's part of us like adapting to this new, okay, now we have 2 daycare payments. Like here's where we're falling. Like I transition jobs. Like, so like OT has, kind of like fluctuated a little bit. So we've been kind of trying to get a better grasp on the current situation. And I think like timing's right on, trying to like retool and refine and get back to some, systems.
Gotcha. Okay. So like, let's say like, you come in, you work with myself, Brennan, our team, and we put a plan like this in place for you. Just raise your awareness on some of those areas like you're mentioning, like, hey, we can kind of like tighten the bolts a little bit here on the front end, get some more margin and just squeeze more juice out of that there. Just have more awareness on cash flow, how we're allocating things there. Obviously, really diversify your strategy. put you guys in a position where you're confident that the rate of growth you have been seeing is going to be far surpassed, but also so that you can manage it, right? Which is in and of itself going to create a significant amount of personal growth because you won't be paying up fees, right? And then just protecting things on the back. You guys make great money, so I'm sure a big thing in your mind is like taxation, and obviously legacy is a focus for you, so estate planning and all those things. Like, we wrap that all up, put a package like that in place.
Yeah, some of that stuff is definitely like it's in a trust and things like that.
Yeah, and is there any like, because I know there's so many things we can do, right? So it's not even, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but is there anything that has stopped us from putting some of those things in place? Like, we don't have a will, or I mean, trust is like not everyone. The average person doesn't have a trust for their family, but I mean, a will is obviously pretty essential, right? Like, is there anything that held you back from doing that up until this point?
Honestly, it's like been brought up and then kind of like we're like, yeah, we need to do that, and then like time passes and we forget about it, and then we're reminded about it again, and we're like, we need to do that. And so I mean, prioritization, probably just a lack of prioritization, even though like it really should be a top priority.
Yeah. So why do you feel like now is the right time to tackle this? Because like, I mean, you've added a couple kids in the mix in this process, right? I guess that's probably part of the thing here, but that also adds busyness to life, right? Like taking on in all reality, not just when we're looking at a will, but like everything we're talking about here, it's taking on a chosen level of responsibility that no one's going to force upon you. Like, why do you feel like that's the responsibility you're ready to take on at this point?
I mean, I feel like if you keep letting years pass, then you're going to slow down like progression to your goal, right? So to me, it's like we've done a good job, but we like, you know, I'm hard on myself, right? Like if we had done some of these things, you know, 5 years ago, like we'd be that much further ahead. So it's almost like you know, do you want to reach this goal? Like if you need to, then we need to be like committed to doing.
What prevented you from doing it 5 years ago, buddy? What prevented you? Because he still hasn't given you the answer.
Things now that are going to ensure that versus like leaning on hope that like, yeah, we'll be able to have all these like
because what he was saying the whole time was we don't know what to do. So how do you handle that, Sam?
Well, have you taken any steps to get help with this?
Yeah. I'm like, how does one figure out what to do? Because you don't know how. Like, how do you get the information?
Yeah.
Fat guy comes to you and he says, hey, dude, I don't know how to work out and I don't know how to diet. What would you tell him to do? Oh, go on the internet. Well, what if he doesn't know how to implement the stuff on the internet? He can't hold himself accountable. What would you say then? Hire a personal trainer. Because you know that there are people out there who have the knowledge and the skills that you are currently deficient in, right? Like they are out there. You believe that? Yes. What prevented you from finding that person? Even if that person required financial commitment from you. What prevented you? Objection.
Dream goals, but you know, we're trusting what we're doing is working versus like confidently applying ourselves fully and like getting where we want to be because we're controlling it.
Yeah, a mentor of mine said it one way, I've never been able to forget it. He goes, you're smoking opium. What are you doing, man? I was just like, I've never heard it said that way, but that's like such a fun. I was just like, yeah, you're getting high on your own supply, right? It's like, yeah, of course. I don't want to live and breathe and survive off of hope. I want to. I'm a person of faith, right? I don't know if you are. No judgment if you aren't, right? But it's just like, you know, God in His Word, He tells us that we need to be good stewards with our money. We have to create a return. We need to expand our tempos. We also be faithful with the little things. And at the end of the day, faith without works is dead. So we can have hope. It's like, God, bring a miracle into my life. And He's just like, I asked you to like shovel the driveway for your life. You have to do that in South Carolina, but I do here. Holy crap, man, we got dumped on last night. That's why it came to my mind, right? It's like, you're not being faithful with these things. How am I supposed to bless you with $4.5 million in the lifestyle you want in retirement if we're not willing to do these things? And so I appreciate you thinking about it in that perspective, because to me, like that's something I resonate with deeply, right? And why I think about it in that sense is like, I do this with myself. Honestly, I do this with my loved ones, my family. I do this with everybody that's coming to work inside of our program. And it's this exercise. It's like we can talk about where this is going to take you. We know that if we optimize this, you guys have gotten 1.5 million in growth in the last decade, right? We really optimize this. I mean, in order for you to hit that time frame in the next 10, 12 years, we have to kind of 1.5x at least what we've done in the last decade. That's a even still like it's a significant amount of increase, right? When we get to that place and we feel these impacts, and also a lot sooner before we get to there, we'll be seeing those changes as well. We can talk about that all day. At the end of the day, we have to put some things in place. We have to optimize. We need to restructure and do things in a certain sense so we can get to that point, to the top of the mountain, right? The exercise that I think is really healthy to do is just like, let's look at the other side of the coin.
Let me just plug in my computer real quick. You can keep talking though.
Do you think don't die on me, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, again, like going back to like the point, right, that we just said, which is like, I want to think that we're doing the right things and that we're on track, but like, I have no backing to that. I just am like, hey, like we've done a pretty good job. Like, you know, we'll probably be there, you know, there's like, and I think that's where it needs to be, like the next level of
if your doctor came in to fix you and he said, I'll probably fix you, what would you say? If you went to go,
What do you mean probably?
Yeah. If I wanted to go from where I'm at in Kentucky to Hawaii, and I looked at the pilot and I said, how confident are you that you're going to get me there? And he said, probably, I might. What would you say?
Getting off the plane.
of like, no, I know I can speak to why I know we're going to get there, and we're doing things like we're maxing out things, like we're not like leaving any rock unturned. And part of that is like leaning into like things that we're not doing, right? And you know, like we've done a lot, and I feel like I've taken a personal interest in things that we have done, and that's, you know, some of the reasons that we've gotten where we've gotten, like, you know. And then others is like what am I not doing? And like now I need to lean into those things and like not like, you know, for lack of a better word, like, you know, like not be lazy and like trust that like, oh, we're just gonna like be where we want to be in 12 years and then get to 12 years and be like, well, we're not. So like you know, now's the time to do it. It's like, no, I want to do that now and get in the driver's seat.
Yeah, because there's a very clear distinction between something being a want or then waiting on it long enough until that want becomes a need, and now we're behind the 8 ball, and it's like, well, we've lost out on time, right?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, we could look at it in from a sense.
This guy very much has a mentality of we're going to get there no matter what. Very much so.
Would you ask him how long do you think it'll take you to get to XYZ?
He doesn't know, dude. He doesn't know what he's
Yeah.
doing. This is all generalized stuff he's seen on the internet. He doesn't know. That's the problem. And he hasn't been resourceful enough to find out. Once again, the problem. The reason he hasn't been resourceful is because of fear. That's what it is. Overanalyzing, gathering information, no implementation. That's the problem, which has not been called out.
Sense of like, yeah, well, if we don't do anything, flash forward 10 years from now, like we're probably still in a decent state. But like, is that the life that we want, or is that like great adjustments?
Nice. That's good, man. I would say like from our conversation, from obviously Brendan gave me some notes, like I had an insight into what's going on.
Please don't pitch him. You pitching him right here?
I think I shift into it, but I did it in a different sense. I'm trying to remember how I structured the conversation.
World already, but just from our conversation, I don't want to just like machine gun information at you because right, we're gonna take what you're very well for yourself, right?
This guy closed himself. Glad you got the commission. But he closed himself.
Right? We're gonna accelerate that and make it way easier than just using our own plans. But also we
Like it was like the pitch is great and the price is right. Here's my card. That's what this was.
will look at auxiliary ways to expedite this process, not just for education, but also how can we just set them on the right path for the future. I'm not sure if people before us, like they create money, and I'm sure you feel, hey, this is pretty because I think in this sense, a mentor of mine that I ended up working.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that, like, I want to give ourselves grace by saying I think we've done things well, but I think in just chatting, a lot of the things that we know we could be
9 out of 10 times he says, gotta run it by my wife. And then she says $6,000 and he's gone. 9 out of 10 times. So how I look at sales is out of 10 calls, you have one person who will pay every single time. Every time. You have one person who will never pay. Ever, no matter what you say, probably like the guy that Kyle talked to or the girl, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's 20% right there. So what I look at is the 80%. The 8 calls. And so doing it this way, you can get that one guy, but the rest, up to chance. Not saying you're not excellent, not saying you don't show up one of the best in the entire team, not saying that you don't implement everything that I teach, not saying that. Not saying you did a bad job, I'm not. But this guy closed himself. He was closed. And your ability to articulate the pitch based on his needs, that probably got him over the finish line. But when it comes to like that accountability and really digging on what's actually prevented this guy from getting where he wants to be and the fact that he's not going to get there no matter what was missing. The fact that he's completely missing out on his kid's life, totally absent, their kids being raised by someone else other than him, missed, not addressed, no pain, no urgency, nothing. It was just, oh, this logistically makes sense in my logistical brain, I'll do it. And most people not saying what's like, when you really need it and you're like at the 1 yard line, you're just going to get stuffed. Turn it over. Which is like relying on a sales objection handling word track. It's not going to work. It's not going to get it done. You won't last. Especially with cold pay traffic, it's not going to work. So I'm trying to prevent the future pain that will come if we don't lean into these necessary questions. So
I think like when I look in retrospect, the end of the call, like coming out of the pitch, he basically explained like, I think when I look at it like analytically, I think I leaned more on the pitch there in terms of how I could paint the picture and bring things to his attention that
weren't functioning well to show him, because it was clear to me like this guy doesn't know what to do. I didn't get into pain with him and I was kind of struggling with that. But there was things that came out in the pitch that I was able to illuminate to him that he said, he's like, you've made it very clear to me through this process that they're like, basically just giving me a better understanding of the things I've been struggling to find a grasp on. Like, what do we do next? He's like, that's where this alignment is. He's like, that's why I feel so aligned here.
That's great.
Makes sense.
That's great.
No,
So
but I'm just saying like, that's good. But like,
yeah,
could have,
you won't get the risk averse, fearful person who doesn't have 1.5 million in net worth over
Yeah.
the finish line doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to prevent. Most people are not going to be like this guy.
I think that's like in the moment when I was in the call, I was struggling to tap into that aspect of like where is the pain in this situation. It's in terms of how it's like actually showing up for him to divulge that, because obviously I understand like he was mentioning like daycare and stuff like that. I maybe just it's my own personal bias as a dad. Even someone in his situation, it's like I get the idea of wanting to be there with your kids all the time, or like the concept of having someone else raising your kids, but just like logistically that's just not the most realistic thing. So I don't see that as the greatest. Like when I look at myself as a dad, that really isn't an area of pain.
It won't be for everyone, but you're also not working 80 hours a week, completely, totally neglecting your children.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like case by case. That's why I need the leverage. I need to understand what is actually happening with this guy. Because that surface level does not tell the whole story. I can guarantee you may not feel it now, but if you're working 80 hours a week and you did that your entire life, you wouldn't even know your kids, and they wouldn't know you either, and they would hate you for it. Like, how can you build a relationship with someone you don't know? You can't. And then they're just raised by someone else, and that's why you feel like you don't know them even more. It's because they're being raised by someone else. And we don't want that. Okay. How many calls do we have left rest of the day?
I only got I only got one more. I had one rescheduled.
Yeah, I got one at 6.
I have 2, just 1 confirmed.
2, 1 confirmed.
Good luck on your calls. Let's implement it one piece at a time.
Hey, Tristan, are you free for like 2 seconds, or you have another call?
I have another call, but I'm free for 2 seconds.
There was a logistical thing where he got a call right before the sales call started, and it was about a surgery that he was going to have, and he wanted to do it, and he's like, I just need to figure out the insurance, like I'll be ready to go in like 2 days. Like he needed to call his insurance to see what he needed to pay. So like how'd you work around that logistic? Like all I did was book a follow-up.
That is logistics. You would want to dig in a little bit deeper. We'll probably have to watch the call. That'd probably be a good call to watch. Just to
I
see
tied him
what is
down
actually
too.
that.
Yeah.
Could be just logistics.
Okay. Because he was super analytical, risk averse, and I kind of like tiptoed around it. I could have did better with that, but we can watch it tomorrow.
What are you doing tonight?
Dude, I have 2 calls. I'm trying to move them. Because the one at 7 did not confirm, so I'm trying to move her, and she's in a different country, and like I don't know where, but I'm trying to get to y'all's dinner tonight.
Okay. Cool. Well, even if you're late, that's fine too.
Where are we going?
Chewy's, I think.
I know Jackson 5's going to be there. I always call him Jackson 5.
Oh, he's going to that?
Yeah, you Jackson 5, Braden, Staten, Will.
Got it.
I'll talk to a Coach B every other hour.
Someone, sorry,
On which location? Oh, do you know what location?
I don't yet.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your meetings.
I love you. Have
Love
fun.
you. Bye
Get
bye.
'em in. Later.